Senator McKim. Oh, sorry, Senator Chisholm.
Thanks, Mr Acting Deputy President. And it's not often that I feel sorry for the LNP in this chamber, but when it comes to Senator McDonald, I actually do. And we all know that the only reason Senator McDonald was actually put back on the Senate ticket was because the LNP in Queensland were nervous about losing Herbert. But the sad reality is they put him back on the ticket. They didn't want to put up with him, but they put him back on the ticket because they were worried about the damage he would do, but they go on and lose Herbert anyway, and now they've got to put up with him for another couple of years. So you really do have to feel sorry for the LNP having to put up with Senator McDonald and the nonsense he goes on with in this chamber. But when it comes to the matter before us that was suggested by Senator Roberts, and it speaks volumes that he was the only person from One Nation that actually spoke on this, and they've since left the chamber. This is how important it was to them. But when the news comes through that Senator Roberts has won the MPI, we initially think of what damage he's going to do to the barrier reef and those that advocate for it. I know that those supporters of the UN and the institutions that it protects also get nervous because that's generally the target that Senator Roberts wants to take. But today he was off on a very different tangent and somehow trying to accuse the state government of interfering in a police matter. And the reality is that the only government that interfere with the police in Queensland is the old Sir Joe government that he normally speaks so fondly of. But that's what he's harking back to, and that's not something that the current state government would be involved with. So obviously his effort to conflate those two issues is just wrong and is absolutely incorrect. We also had Senator McDonald go on and try and attack the current member for Herbert, who's doing an outstanding job standing up for her community by trying to claim her election was illegitimate. Well, what absolute nonsense. And any time that we see from Senator McDonald or those opposite try and undermine her election to this parliament, we will absolutely call her out on it. But those people who voted for her will also be disappointed in the efforts of the LNP. The member for Herbert won that election fair and square. The LNP did nothing whilst they were in government in Herbert, and they suffered a consequence as a result. Ewan Jones was tossed out, and now we have a hard-working member for Herbert who will absolutely stand up to this government every day of the week and is doing an outstanding job for the people of Townsville. But the way Senator Roberts spoke about this matter, and indeed the 513 group, he'd have you think that they just go around extolling their virtues and talking about the work that they do. But when you actually look at some of the media reports from the work that these people have done when they have been charged by offences, and this is by counsel, I would point out, who've made these complaints. A council spokesperson, this is from the Quest newspaper, a local newspaper in Brisbane. Complaints from the public and Queen Street Mall businesses include allegations of extreme harassment with members of the group hurling abuse and insult at passers-by. Doesn't quite sound as innocent as what Senator Roberts has been making out. And this isn't just something that's been happening in the Queen Street Mall in Brisbane. There's also reports of this happening on the Sunshine Coast and indeed on the Gold Coast as well. So there is a pattern of behaviour in South East Queensland. This is another media report from going back a couple of years from the Sunshine Coast Daily. The arrest of the men, street preachers with Operation 513, was a repeat of events last week when they were also charged with the same offence. And we also saw that in December 2015 that a man was charged on the Gold Coast for contravening police directions to move on from the middle of Cavill Avenue in Surfers Paradise during schoolies celebration. And this is a quote from the Gold Coast Bulletin article. George Yusuf, 33, was charged after police alleged the man was vilifying homosexual people, causing anxiety and disrupting the trade of businesses on December 4 last year. They also allege he told those who were intoxicated and celebrating the second week of schoolies they would go to hell for being drunk, Muslim, Buddhist and having sex outside of wedlock. So these are the innocent people that Senator Roberts is seeking to defend here, the so-called innocent people that Senator Roberts is seeking to defend here. So yes, we understand freedom of speech, but you also need to put yourself in the shoes of those police officers. As I mentioned in that story, we are talking about the second week of schoolies. This is a period when the Gold Coast Police are a bit large in number because they are dealing with an influx of people from all over the country to the Gold Coast to enjoy schoolies. So they are under enormous pressure dealing with those influx of people. And then you have this group in the mall, which is a real hub of activity when schoolies are on, sprouting this sort of stuff to young school leavers at the time. So whilst Senator Roberts may be wishing to try and hamstring our police or blame the state government, this is something that they have had to deal with. They've obviously had numerous instances of this with this group that they have been dealing with, that the group have so far been refusing to acknowledge the police effort in this regard and have been thumbing their nose at them, and that's why it's got to the level that it has. So it is inconsistent of Senator Roberts to claim the innocence of these people when you look at the facts of what we've seen in regards to these stories. The other thing that we also need to look at is the hypocrisy of One Nation when it comes with these issues. Let's look at the Women's March in January, when Senator Hanson said, and I quote, "It's good that they were out and about doing a bit of walking because it looked like a few of them needed to get a bit of sun and do a bit of exercise. Don't these clowns have anything else better to do with their time other than to hold sad anti-democracy protests?" And when discussing a rally in support of penalty rates earlier this month, Senator Hanson again, "The real shame is these ratbag bullies couldn't think of anything original to shout." So if you align with One Nation's worldview and you're having your say, you're okay, you're a champion of free speech. But if you're exercising your speech on a matter that they don't agree with, you're sad, anti-democratic and a bully. There really is a lack of consistency in the argument from One Nation in this regard, and we will absolutely hold them to account in this chamber on that.